why men struggle with asking for help, why so many suffer in silence, and so many they choose to end themselves rather than actually get support, get resolution. And it really comes down to a couple of key natures in the masculine psychology. And this is, when I say masculine, please understand, I could be talking about a woman living in her masculine, or I could be talking about a man living in his masculine. It's not about the pokey in parts and pokey out parts of the body. That's informative and important and factors into the equation. But just because a person has a pokey in part or a pokey out part, that does not automatically guarantee that they are living, operating, need to be in their masculine or their feminine. So the polarity is kind of separated from the physicality of the body, okay? So just play with that as an idea. And really why so many men struggle for help is masculine polarity. Masculine drives out of three fundamentals, which is to protect and to provide. And the first one is procreate. And if it's not appropriate to procreate in this situation, then our defaults are in sequence. Procreate is first, then protect, then provide. A masculine person who is not providing is kind of worthless in society. If you're tall and you don't help people get things off the top shelf, well, then why are you even tall? And there's this expectation, or there's this drive or demand or need. So for a masculine person, like, I'm a protector, I'm a provider. I got to be the warrior and I got to be the hunter, and that's what I got to do. And if I'm not doing either of those things well, it's easy to get into overwhelm. It's easy to get into feeling worthless, or I'm stuck in the situation, or I'm going to double down and I'm going to hope and pray things get better if I could just do this and this and this. And we start telling ourselves these stories that may or may not help. But the fundamental crux of the problem is that if I go and ask for help, then I'm invalidating my ability as a protector and a provider. Also, when I go ask for help, that means I'm less than. I need to take resources. That means somebody else could use that against me. They could extort me. They can manipulate me. They can embarrass me. They can shame me. And the whole idea that masculinity or the ability to protect, the ability to provide, we have to go earn that status versus it's just inherent in the person. Well, if I ask for help, then that means I'm not capable. I'm not. And it hurts the identity. It hurts the sense of self. And for some men, they'd rather die than ask for help. They'd rather die than get support, which hurts my heart and soul, honestly. And I've worked with some guys that were on that edge, and they did feel like it would just be better for everyone else if I wasn't here. And I'm here to tell you categorically that is not true. Gentlemen, talking to you, if you hurt yourself, if you end yourself, your family's never going to get over it. Your kids are never going to get over it. They're always going to blame themselves. They're always going to believe I was too much, I wasn't enough. There was something wrong with me that drove dad to that behavior. And no amount of logic and argument is ever going to help them to come to terms with that it wasn't, I could have done something different. I could have been more. I could have been less. I could have. And the whole rest of their life, they have that pain. And if you take an L early and you exit life, you make it easier for them to do the same thing. Well, my dad didn't even care enough to stick around. Why should I? And that's the more dangerous piece. So why, if we understand this, why aren't more men getting help? And it's a really easy thing to understand. It ties into the idea of deserves, because masculinity calculates, what do we deserve? And we take all of the good we've ever done in our lives, and we kind of have a list. We know the good stuff we've done. And we keep a list of all the harm we've caused that we haven't forgiven ourselves for. The fault, the blame, the guilt, the shame. We still take ownership of these pain points. And we balance that equation. The good stuff, the bad stuff I haven't forgiven myself. The harm I've caused that I haven't forgiven myself. And whatever that equation balances to, that's what he will ask for and no more. I don't deserve more than that. I only deserve this much. And this is assuming normal, healthy, masculine mindset. We're not talking about narcissists or sociopaths or, self-indulgent personality types. We're not talking about that. We're talking about just a salt of the earth, a man who shows up and does his work and shows up and does his job. This is where he lives, is what do I deserve? The good minus the stuff I haven't forgiven myself for. And the equation, whatever that ends up in, that's what he's going to ask for, no more. And there's another piece to this constellation, which is he will not ask for what he needs or what he deserves from people that, in his estimation, he judges to be incapable of providing. See, as a protector and a provider, he's not going to ask somebody to provide something that he judges them to not have available. And this is why couples get into trouble sometimes, is she vents to him about her day and all the stuff that she's thinking and feeling, and she's overloaded and stressed, and the kids and the house and the job and my family and da 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 da. And she has this big, huge, and then she unloads all of that. And then she feels good. And she can go on about her day. And he's left holding on to all this stuff going, oh God, I had a crap day at work, but man, she's got so much going on. I can't tell her. I can't tell her that I'm struggling at work. I can't tell her that I'm angry. I can't tell her that I'm just depleted and I need a break. Because she's got so much on her plate. I can't do that. And this is why men get stuck. Because he's judging her capacity based on his own experience. And providers don't tend to ask other providers to provide for them. No, I'm a provider. I'm not going to ask anyone to provide for me because it's my job to give, not ask to receive. And so that is the pain, and that is the problem that they get locked into. They get locked into that dynamic, and it's just a downward spiral. And it's scary, guys, to lean into that fear, but that's where you find your freedom. Because if you can ask for help before you get into a crisis, and you can say, hey, I'm struggling, there's something that's weighing me down, there's something I'm having trouble carrying, the genuine people in your life will step in, and they'll show up. And they'll say, hey, let me help. And there's the key. Let me help. They're not taking it from you, but they're offering to help in some way in within their wheelhouse. And they will provide for you what they judge and what they estimate they are capable of providing to you. They're not necessarily going to rush in and solve all your problems, because they're going to do their own calculation and figure out, well, I can help you up to this point, and it's not going to hurt me or hurt my family or put me in stress. So yeah, I can meet you this far. I can walk with you this far, but only if you ask for help, because they're going to see you struggle, but they're not going to offer you the help if you don't ask. Because I'm not going to be so rude as to assume, it looks like he's got it handled. Guys, you see a buddy struggling, just say, hey dude, how's everything going? How's life and love treating you today? That's what I do. Right? When I see somebody struggling in a Facebook group or in my friends list or on timeline, I see someone having a challenge. I hear somebody say something when I'm out. I touch base. I'm just like, hey, I heard you make this comment. Had me a little concerned. Is everything okay with you? Last night we were at the swim meet, and there was a kid, and he was like taking his swim cap and filling it full of water. And then he was drawing pentacles on the ground in water. And the adults kind of saw it and didn't say anything. And after he drew the second one, Autumn and I are both kind of going, that's a little strange. And then he makes the comment to our 6-year-old daughter that he's pouring gasoline and he can't wait to burn the place down. Okay, now I'm looking for an adult who's on the other swim team. So I'm looking for an adult who would know people on the other swim team, just so I can put that on somebody's radar and say, hey, I don't know exactly what's going on here, and I've been a young creative man myself, but I don't know if any of you have noticed this young guy. Notice the pentacles he's drawing on the ground, the little 5-pointed star wrapped in a circle. Well, he made the comment to my 6-year-old, my wife and I overheard him, that it was gasoline and he can't wait to burn the place down. He might be worth keeping an eye on, and maybe his parents should be kind of roped in on what's happening over here. Not making anybody wrong. I'm not saying he's a horrible kid. I'm saying that has some concern. Let's put somebody aware of that. And that's really, this idea of being stewards to each other, looking out for each other. I'm not going to accuse you of anything, but hey, it looks like you're dealing with some stuff and there's some struggles. Sunday we were at the pool, and a friend of mine I haven't seen in a while and I were talking, and I mentioned, I'm moving in this direction and working with men in relationship. He's like, oh man, we might have to talk because da-da-da-da-da. And he didn't go into a lot of detail. So I shot him a message and I was like, hey man, what's going on? That had me a little bit of concern. Is everything okay? He said, well, and he kind of shared some of his story. And so I didn't pitch him. I didn't say, oh, well, let's get a time. Let's brainstorm. Let's go into my sales process. Because I don't know how much work he's done. And I don't know if he is, I don't know if he's in a place like that he's ready for that type of work, to do what I do. I don't like to work with people who haven't already done some work. I want somebody who, if I'm going to work with a dad, I'm going to work with a husband, I'm going to work with a man. It's like, look, what books have you read? What courses have you taken? What have you done to resolve this on your own? Because if he's just brand spanking new, then I want him to have done some work on his own first, just so I'm not spinning my wheels and I'm not playing a game of, yeah, but. I give him a point of data and information and a frame of reference, and it's like, yeah, but what about? It's like, no, you've already read some books, you've already done some work, so you already kind of have an idea. DIY takes time, and it costs a lot more money than just hire me, let's go get a resolution, let's make it happen quick. So I kind of need you to already have done some work and done some digging and been through some pain and already tried to resolve it and it didn't. Because if I can just like give you one book and it solves all of your problems, fantastic, I did my job. You don't have to pay me for that because that book was already written at somebody else's content. Cool. So I have like a list of 5 books I recommend kind of everybody read as a baseline. And I kind of like, I actually try to push some people away from me because like, I don't know that you're ready for me yet. I think you need to be, honestly, you need to be in more pain than you're in. You don't sound like you're in a lot of pain and suffering yet. I think you need to be a little further down the hole for me to be able to help you. You got to really dig in on what your issues are. And that's why I do the live content. I do the free content. I do the different things that I do. It's really there to help frame some things. So guys, if you're struggling in your relationship, in your career, with yourself, I'm going to invite you to go look at this idea about deserves. And what good have you done? Write it down. Write down the list. This is all the good stuff I've done. These are the things I contribute. And on the other side, write down the things you haven't forgiven yourself for. What did you nerf up? Like, I nerfed this up and I can't forgive myself because these ongoing things. And it's like, well, what would it take to forgive yourself? Because that forgiveness I can definitely help with. And then we get to that, whatever the result of the deserve, I don't deserve nothing. Okay, then you and I definitely need to talk. Because you would not be coming across my content if you deserve nothing, right? I put out 99% positive stuff, encouraging stuff, motivating stuff, uplifting stuff, because I know what it's like to live the opposite. I know what it's like to push yourself down and be cynical and sardonic and sarcastic and toxic and just not a lot of fun because I got a problem for every solution. I've lived that life, and that's not who I am anymore, and that's not the space I live in. And I deliberately cultivate good stuff. That was actually, it meant a lot to me, and I needed to hear it, I think, that when Tommy said, you're one of the people I see going out every day to do good in the world. And I was like, yeah, I do. I see how much negativity is there and cynicism and complaining and tearing things down. And I'm like, feed the things you want to see grow. Feed the love, feed the light, because there's a lot of it. The world really is an amazing place. And there's more people alive than have ever been alive ever before, which means there's more opportunity to create fantastic, cool stuff. We just got to get out of this scarcity mindset. We got to get out of this take before being taken. So if you're struggling with your heart, with your mind, with what you deserve, let's get on a call, right? There's no cost. I'm not trying to pitch you. I'm not trying to hard close you into anything, because when I work with somebody, I want to be able to guarantee the impact and guarantee the results. So I'm not going to just like throw down anything in front of anybody to make a quick buck. That's not how I live. And that's not what I want to accomplish. That's not what I want to contribute. I want to make sure we're a good fit, and what you've got going on really needs my unique set of tools and experiences. I've got 26 years working with men and families and teens and kids and all kinds of people and all kinds of bad situations and how to improve them. And so the call is free, 15 minutes to an hour, somewhere in there, and we'll deconstruct what's going on, what have you done, what's worked, what hasn't worked, why hasn't it worked, what are the roadblocks, and let's put a plan together. And if it makes sense, the only pitch is going to be, hey, do you want my help with this? Because plan's easy. Laying out the strategy is easy. Walking it day after day and doing the things you need to do day after day, that's the challenge. But the truth is, you only have to take one step. And then you take another one step. And then another one step. And if you have a clear plan, you're going to get to an amazing place. It's not going to take as long as you think. Wait till you have a perfect plan. You're never going to get there. So if you're watching this video, please make sure, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Invite somebody who needs to hear this conversation. A man you know, a man you care about, who's struggling with himself, who's way too hard on his heart, way too hard on his mind, and punishes himself for not being good enough. Please, send him my way. Share this content with him, because it could literally save his life. It could literally transform everything for him. I have a client just this week that sent me, feedback because we worked together back in March. And here we are, beginning of July. And he said categorically, if we hadn't done what we did back in March, he'd be dead today. His marriage is unraveling, and he's doing it as a conscious uncoupling. He and his wife are separating with love and respect and boundaries, and it's not devolving into a battle over who's right and who deserves. It's just our lives are moving in different directions, and let's grow through this season. So we were able to give him some tools and some frames of reference to make this possible. And he's alive, and he's going to be here for his kids. That lights me up. That fills my soul. And that's the work I'm here to do. And the more guys I can reach, I'm not going to get there by myself. I wasn't going to get there in a box in Dayton, Ohio. If I stayed in the martial arts school, I wasn't going to get there. I would love to have you involved. I'd love to help with what's going on. Okay? So you make it a fantastic day, and I will see you when I see you.